Hi everyone, my name is Shami and I'm going to show you how to make almost any face into a Disney face. We are first going to look at a popular Disney character and draw some guidelines that we can use. Our guidelines will be coming from the Loomis Method and the Reilly Rhythms. And then we will apply those guidelines we made to the face we want to draw. We are going to make a sketch, line art, and then color in our drawing. It's as simple as that. Let's get started. Step 1. The Loomis Method. The Loomis Method is a very popular beginner-friendly method to drawing faces. It is meant to draw anatomically accurate faces to match the faces we see in real life. But Disney faces have different proportions than reality. So we're going to change the proportions of the Loomis Method so that it will match a Disney face instead. So here's the original Loomis Method with the hairline, eyebrow line, ears, bottom of nose, and jawline. And here is our Disney character. We're going to match each landmark on the Loomis Method with that of our character. And we will end up with something like this. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to draw this from scratch. I just wanted to show you what we're working towards. I'm going to keep it at the side so you can always see our final goal. Alright, let's get started with our Loomis Method. First, draw an oval to represent the main mass of the head. Normally it should be a circle, but since Disney faces tend to be smaller, it's better if we start with an oval. Then draw two straight lines at the sides of the oval to represent the flattening of the head at the sides. Now make a long line down the center and draw the jawline, trying to keep it round and soft. The center of the jawline should match up with the long line down the center. Erase the excess off the sides of the head and divide the oval shape in two halves. This line is going to represent our eyebrow line. Divide the top half into two halves again, and this line will represent our hairline. Draw another line just below the edge of the circle, and this will mark the bottom of the nose. Lastly, let's draw the ears from the eyebrow line to the nose line. So to go over our landmarks, we have the hairline at the top, then the eyebrow line, the two ears, a line representing the bottom of the nose, and then finally the jawline. Okay, step 1 complete, and now let's draw our next guideline. Step 2. The Reilly Rhythms. These are the Reilly Rhythms, which are very useful in determining where facial features accurately fall. We're going to use the same approach we did with the Loomis Method, and I will overlay each feature from the Reilly Rhythms onto our Disney character to come up with a template. And this is our result. I know it looks a little creepy, but I promise that this is what I used to get this result. You will notice the features are more baby-faced, with the head and eyes being bigger and the nose, mouth, and chin being smaller. Since these characters are drawn with similar proportions as that of a baby, we find them cute and adorable to look at. Okay, let's draw our new Reilly Rhythms. As usual, I will keep the original beside it so we can see the changes we are making. Keep your Loomis head as a guideline and start with a circle for the forehead. Then the brow line connecting to the eyebrow line. This area is the little protrusion above the eyebrows. Now we're gonna draw shapes for the eyes. Draw two large circles to represent where the eyeballs would be, and now you can draw a sort of sunglass shape around them connecting to the sides. The nose will be a thin bridge down the middle, and with a little box representing the base of the nose where the nostrils will be. Draw an ellipse around the nose to signify its side planes. Now draw a small circle at the bottom to represent the chin. For the mouth, we make another circle from the bridge of the nose to the top of the chin circle. To establish where the mouth exactly falls, the corner will line up with a line just off the edge of the eyeball. Now make a line connecting the corner of the mouth to the top of the ear. We're almost there. Draw another line connecting the helix of the ear, which is the flap that curves around at the top, all the way down to the chin. This should be a nice, smooth diagonal line. Last line connecting the corners of the eyes at the top into the line from the ear. This represents the laugh line, which becomes obvious when we smile or in elderly people. So this is our adjusted Reilly Rhythms head. Now our templates are finished, so let's get to drawing. Step 3. The sketch. We're going to be turning Taylor Swift into a Disney face, but feel free to use any face you want to. When sketching our face, we're going to be using the templates we've already established to draw in our facial features. An important note though, the proportions that we have before us will make almost any face adorable. But if you want the character to look like the person you are drawing, for example, if I want my character to look like Taylor Swift, then I need to pay attention to the distinguishable features she has. Let me show you what I mean. She has thin, sharp eyebrows pointed downwards, angular eyes, prominent cheekbones, a relatively small mouth, and curly hair. By including these features in my sketch, I can get my drawing to look a little bit like her. Okay, let's get started with the sketch. So here I am trying to get the overall head shape by using the Loomis guideline I already established underneath. By using the templates we made, it makes sketching much easier because you have less decisions to make. I also made the jaw a bit narrower and sharper to try to match the Taylor Swift reference, because remember, we're basically trying to average a Disney face with a real person, so that our drawing will end up a combination of both. The whole time you're sketching, you're basically balancing the line between making your drawing look like a Disney character and making your drawing look like the original person. And here I've drawn the eyebrows, trying to draw the eyebrows similar to Taylor Swift's eyebrows with the angular, sharp shape. Now I'm going on to the nose, which for the nose, I'm mostly following the guidelines underneath just to get something down. I can always change it and adjust it as I go on. Nothing is permanent here. Just try the line, and if you don't like it, just adjust it. So here I am doing the mouth. For the mouth, again, I'm mostly tracing the guidelines I have underneath. And I'm putting a mark for the cheekbones, the prominent cheekbones that she has. And now for the eyes, since Disney faces tend to be very symmetrical, you can always copy one eye and paste it on the other side. But personally, I like it when there's a little bit of asymmetry to the face because it just looks more human. Every human face has a little bit of asymmetry, so I just like to include that. Also, you'll see that Disney eyes are much rounder and larger than I have drawn here because I chose to make my eyes narrow because I wanted them to resemble Taylor Swift's eyes. So here I am trying to draw the left eye. And drawing the iris in. It's always difficult for me to get both of them looking in the same direction. It always takes me a couple of tries. So what can help is mirroring your sketch to see if they're looking in the same direction. The sketch is a little over 2 times speed, so it took about 20 to 25 minutes in all, because having guidelines underneath really speeds things up and takes off a lot of the stress, because you don't really need to worry about anatomy or proportions or anything. All you need to figure out are the shapes of what you want to draw. For example, we know where the eyes go, so the real question is, do you want the eyes to be rounder or more angular? Or for the mouth, do you want it to look thinner or thicker? These are the questions that we're tackling in the sketch because we already worked out all of the proportions and anatomy already. I also mirror my sketch a lot because when you look at the same drawing for too long, your eyes get used to seeing the mistakes, but when you flip the canvas, you get a fresh look and you see it in a different angle. So it helps you to see mistakes you could not notice before. So I'm slightly adjusting the size of the head to try to match the guidelines that I have underneath. And now onto the hair, trying to get the curl that she has above her forehead, and then moving on to the general hair shape. Just getting like a basic shape down, not worrying too much about it. And I removed the guidelines underneath because I felt like I had enough to work off of, and any more information I need, I could get from the references I have. So most of the small changes I make from here are for my drawing to resemble Taylor Swift more, because I want it to be obvious that it's a drawing of her and not just any Disney character. So now I'm doing the hair. For the hair, I struggled because curly hair tends to be harder to draw than straight or wavy hair, because there's a lot of depth and form changes to curly hair, that you have to show in order for it to look like curly hair. But I also didn't want to add too many curls since I didn't want it to distract too much from the face. So I tried my best to keep the curls simple and only highlight like 2 or 3 at the front and let the rest melt into just one huge shape at the back. Because when we're coloring, I can always add more detail to the hair to show that it's all curly hair, even though I may not show it in my sketch. So just making some small adjustments to the eyes. For the brush that I'm using the default airbrush in Krita. I didn't make any changes to the settings or anything. You can use any brush you want. It doesn't matter. I just tend to use the airbrush because I like having a little bit of softness to my lines. But feel free to use any brush you want. A pencil brush, a brush with a little bit of texture, or just a plain round brush. It's fine. Now I'm finishing the hair on the other side. Again, trying to keep my lines as simple as I can, because I don't normally draw curly hair. I haven't drawn curly hair in a while, so I'm not used to it. Just fixing the nose shape, trying to match my reference, and I'm also looking at the Elsa reference that I have above to remind myself of how a Disney face would look. So by looking at both references, alternatively, I can keep averaging both of the faces in my sketch. Making the face a little bit more narrow. Zooming out so I can get an overall look of how it's coming along, because when we're working zoomed in, you can get caught up on the details. So it's important to zoom out every once in a while so you get the big picture. Or you can open a small window that will show you how your entire picture is looking. Finishing the curls on the left side. I'm just trying to make big, obvious, simple looking curls, so it's just plain that you can see, okay, she has curly hair. I'm not trying to draw each strand or each curl in the reference. Just finishing the back of the hair, just a simple shape. And you can see like our sketch is really coming together. There's not that much left to do. Just small adjustments and to finish up the hair. So for this curl, this one I changed a lot, because if you notice, it's overlapping the ear and it's very close to the side of the face. So there's a lot of lines there, so it can look confusing. So you want to make sure that you want to keep your shapes and lines as simple as possible, because too many lines in one area can distract from more important parts of the drawing, which is her face. No one wants to be looking at her ear and that one curl in the corner. So too many lines together can look distracting. So here I'm moving her eyebrows a bit lower because they're pretty low in the reference. If you feel like you're moving too far off from the original guidelines that we set, you can always just turn them back on and try to readjust your proportions, or try to readjust your sketch to look more like the Disney proportions that we set before. So mirroring my sketch again to see how it's looking. And we're almost done with the sketch. There's not that much left to do. I just make some very small adjustments. I also added in 2 little ovals to show that she has prominent cheekbones. So So now I'm trying to make the eyes look in the same direction by adjusting the pupils. Again, this takes me a while because I don't know. It just to get the eyes looking in the same direction is just hard for me. It just takes a lot of tries. We're almost there. We're almost done with the sketch. Just adding a few more details here and there, changing the eyes again. Because I'm trying to make in the Elsa reference, the pupils are very large, but in the Taylor Swift reference, they're very small because real pupils are small. So I'm trying to decide whether I want them to look big like a normal Disney eye or whether I make them a little bit smaller. Just changing the position of the mouth a little bit, using liquify to kind of raise the edges so it looks like she's smiling more. So I mean, that's just using liquify to make the head shape just a little bit more appealing, to try to make it more symmetrical. And that's it for the sketch, really. I feel like we have been able to make a Disney character that resembles Taylor Swift. And now on to the next step, which would be the line art. Step 4, line art. Okay, let's move on to our line art. For the most part, we're going to be tracing our sketch with more confident lines and just finalizing the shapes we established in our sketch. We will be coloring in our drawing anyway, so at the end of the day, the line art won't be in the final. So you don't have to stress too much about getting perfect lines. We just want to have clean lines to make it easier to color. If you want to skip this step and go straight to coloring, feel free to do so. Okay, let's start. So for the line art, I'm using the same airbrush that I used before, which is the default airbrush in Krita. I just made the brush size a little bit thinner so I can get cleaner lines. When trying to do clean line art, try to move your whole arm from your shoulder instead of just your wrist, so you can get long sweeping lines in one clean motion. But it's completely okay if you don't get perfect lines, because like I mentioned before, the line art won't be in the final. So I've done one eye and then I'll move on to the next eye. I like doing the eyes first because they're my favorite part to draw on the face. Like I mentioned before, you can always just copy one eye and paste it on the other side if you're pressed for time, but I just like doing both eyes because I like the little bit of asymmetry that it gives. So mirroring my sketch to see how it's looking. As I'm doing my line art, I'm trying to make sure that I have interesting and clear shapes so that my image can read well. Too many lines in one area can make it look too confusing, so I'm trying to keep it as minimal as I can. So just fixing up the eyebrows here, removing my sketch underneath to see how the line art is looking so far. Moving on to the nose now. If you want to draw long lines, then you can always zoom out and then draw it. That way you have like a shorter distance to go on the graphics tablet and it's easier to just draw in one motion. Checking how the line art is looking again. It's looking okay so far. Now moving on to the jawline. The line art is at 3 times speed, so it took about 20 to 25 minutes to do so. mostly because all I'm doing is tracing the lines I already made in my sketch. The cleaner your sketch, the easier it is to do your line art. But if you don't have a clean sketch, don't worry about it, it's completely okay. Most times a sketch is messy because we just aren't sure where the line exactly falls, so we draw multiple lines to show where we think it should go. All we have to do is just draw another sketch, but this time make it clearer as to where the line will fall. And you can even do multiple sketches, and each time you get closer and closer to a clean sketch. So here I am finishing the mouth. And now onto the hair. So don't stress too much about getting the perfect lines. Just get a good enough line and then go with it. Just trying to get the broad, simple shape down, so when I color it's much easier for me. Moving on to the other side of the hair. You notice that I'm trying to get each of my lines in just one motion. And if I don't get it right, I undo it and I do it and I try again. You don't have to zoom in really close and try to connect the lines slowly. You can zoom out and just draw one long clean line. It's much easier like that. And for this particular hair curl, I was struggling because I didn't want it to look too similar to the curl beside it, because then two very similar curls would look boring. And since it's so close to the side of the face, a lot of lines were in such a small area with the curl and the side of the face and the ear, so it was starting to look distracting. So I was trying to just make it as simple as I could, so I kept experimenting with different lines, different shapes and sizes. And we're almost finished with the line art. I've removed the sketch underneath because we're almost finished with the line art. Mirroring my sketch to see how it's looking, just adjusting it because I thought it was skewed a little bit, so I just fixed that. There isn't much left to say about doing the line art. I talk more about the principles of line art that I've learned in my previous video, how to draw a portrait, so you can check that out if you want to hear more detail about it. So just doing some small tiny adjustments here, seeing if the lines I'm adding are making it better or worse. I'm just trying different lines. Oh, I should mention that I did put the hair on a separate layer because it goes over the face. It's just easier to have the hair on a different layer. It makes it easier to adjust overall. And we are done with the line art. Okay, so this is our final line art, and in my next video I will show you how to take this drawing to this final piece. I hope you found this video useful so far, and let me know in the comments below if there are any other topics you would like me to make a video on. Thank you for watching and happy creating!